Hey, Blackbird Pond people, how are you? We are in chapter 14. And what season does chapter 14 begin in? That's right, we're starting chapter 14 in fall. Kit had never seen fall before. Now remember, she's from Barbados. Does Barbados even have fall? That's right. No, no, they do not. It's kind of like a perpetual summer, I believe, year round. I've never been there myself. But she's watching the beautiful changing leaves. If you're thinking about fall on the East Coast, if you've ever heard about, going to Washington, Connecticut up there, it is beautiful in the fall with all of the changing colors of the leaves. And Kit sees this for the first time and she is just awestruck, for lack of a better word. It said that she stood in the doorway of her uncle's house and held her breath with wonder. The maple tree in front of the doorstep burned like a gigantic red torch. The oaks along the roadway glowed yellow and bronze. The fields stretched like a carpet of jewels, emerald and topaz. Everywhere she walked, the colors shouted and sang around her. What is our author trying to paint for us there? What do you see? Is this kind of like our falls in Nebraska? What do you think? Okay, so as Kit's looking at all of this, she's just in incredible, incredible awe and wonder. And she goes out and she happens to notice in the field her uncle, or in the garden, her uncle is bent down and he scooped up a handful of brown dirt. I'm on page 147. From the garden patch at his feet and stood holding it with a curious reverence, as though it were some priceless substance. As it crumbled through his fingers, his hand convulsed in a sudden passionate gesture. Kit backed through the door and closed it softly. She felt as though she had eavesdropped. When she had hated and feared her uncle for so long, why did it suddenly hurt to think of that lonely, defiant figure in the garden? Well, I want you to talk about that for a minute. Why does she feel like she's eavesdropping? What do you think her uncle is doing in the garden? What do you picture here? What do you think he's pondering? What is he thinking about? Why is it she feels like she's intruded on a moment? Now, why do you think she sees him do you think she sees him in a new light, actually? And then she says, why does it hurt? Why does it hurt to think of that lonely, defiant figure in the garden? What does she mean by lonely and defiant? Does this remind you of anybody you know, or the time of year remind you of a group of people that you know that might be really in touch with what's going on, like as far as the earth and what they're thinking right now? There's no right or wrong here. I'm just asking. All right, as she stands there, she finds out that the dolphin is in town. And so she goes down to meet it because who do you think she's hoping to see? That's right, Nat. And we've talked about how we think they're both crushing on one another, right? Well, Nat treats her kind of, how did they say, indifferently. On page 150, he says, "Good day to you, Mistress Wood." He greeted Judith respectfully. Then he turned to Kit. "Would you be kind enough to deliver a bit of cargo for me?" The words were acceptable enough. It was the indifferent tone that was bewildering. Now, in my house, I often say it's not always what you say, it's how you say it. And I think our author is making a point here. It's not what he said, it was his indifferent tone, it was how he said it. Well, what do we learn about Nat and his discovery here? What did he find out about Kit? That's right. He finds out that William Ashby has ordered some fancy windows for his hoity-toity soon-to-be wife from Barbados. And how do you think Nat is feeling? Yeah, he makes a point to say, you could have at least told me. Do you think that he's kind of felt left, or let on is what I should say? Now, how do you think Kit is feeling? Because she actually said she is going to marry this guy. No, she's going on like she is. She's carrying on like she is. I think part of her wants to. What do you think? Did Kit do the right thing or the wrong thing? Who do you think was in the wrong here? Why and why? Okay, so not only do we have this little indifferent thing, I think he's really upset. He's very upset, and he's like, "Will you at least deliver this? I know that the widow Tupper is not your fancy friend, but can you please deliver this to me because we've got to set sail on the Dolphin?" And she agrees, but Judith, she makes a point that um, when he leaves, uh, she turned her head away to hide angry tears. Why is Kit crying? Why are her tears angry? What has upset her? And how would you feel if you were in Judith's position? All right, Aunt Rachel comes up to him while they're standing there. And what news of the government does Aunt Rachel bring? That's right. And she knows that Matthew's going to be upset. So she said, let's go fix him a nice dinner. Well, why are the women worried about dinner? Yeah, have you ever heard the expression, a way to a man's heart is through his belly? Now, I'm not a man, guys, so you're going to have to help me out here. Gentlemen, is this true? If you get bad news, is a good dinner going to fix it? Did Matthew even make it home for dinner? No. And when he did come home, our author makes a point to say that his shoulders sagged and he looked ill. Well, his worst fear about his government has come true. And he tells the ladies, hey, make sure you lay a fire in the company room. There are some who will want to talk tonight. Well, what are they going to want to talk about? What is upsetting about this news of the Governor Andrews of Massachusetts? At the very end of the chapter, she finds out the Dolphin couldn't make it out. Kit finds this out. And she's they call her a vengeful happy. What does she mean by a revengeful happy? Revengeful pleasure, that's what it was. Kit took a revengeful pleasure in the thought. What does that mean? Yeah, she's kind of hoping that, hey, you're not going to be able to go. But she is not going to take the widow her stuff until she is sure the Dolphin is gone. Why won't she take the widow her stuff? All right. Well, our next chapter is going to be chapter 15. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. You're doing a great job. I'm enjoying reading your discussion. Keep it up. One of these discussions, I'm going to have you guys do the screencast and come up with the questions yourself. Be prepared. Talk to you later.